purple shades when the Molgarokurou wake. In the shadow of giants, the worms still crawl. Caterpillars steal the empire's thrall. Green and blue, the armored horde. Rolling death and dinosaurs. Silent advance, the tracks drive slow. The front line breaks where the fire will go. Molga swarms the giant flame. But the Rokurou strike will carve the name. Monstrous chains, crawling cannon of fire. Thunder from the spire. Molotov of metal thread. The Rokurou strikes you dead. Crawling cannon fire. Crawling cannon fire. Thunder from the spire. Molotov of metal thread. The Rokurou strikes you dead. Crawling cannon fire. Thunder from the spire. Molotov of metal thread. The Rokurou strikes you dead. My eye is warm, the barrels rise. Death in the distance, no need for disguise. One burning shot, the Gatos fall. One screaming blast, the giants crawl. With puppet lines thrown wide apart. Each blast a dagger, a butcher's art. From sea's black sky, the echoes roar. The Rokurou's wrath forevermore. Fire, lightning cracks, never retreat, no turning back. Cannon fire, grinding tracks. Never retreat, no turning back. Crawling cannon fire. Iron blood and empire. Crush them to the ground. The Rokurou makes no sound. Crawling cannon fire. Iron blood and empire. Crush them to the ground. The Rokurou makes no sound. And still firing in the distance. The worms will crawl until the world is ash. Monster machines! Behind the swarm, the barrels rise. Death in the distance, no need for disguise. One burning shot, the Gatos fall. One screaming blast, the giants crawl. Recumbent lines torn wide apart. Each blast a dagger, a butcher's art. From sea's black sky, the echoes roar. The Rokurou's wrath forevermore. Fire, grinding tracks. Never retreat, no turning back. Rolling fire, grinding tracks. Never retreat, no turning back. Rolling fire, grinding tracks. Never retreat, no turning back. Rolling fire, grinding tracks. Never retreat, no turning back. Crawling through burning tracks. Never retreat, no turning back. Rock. Let it shine. Traitors roar. The war begins once more. The war begins once more. The grand circle monster machines. The Zoids. The central continent plays where steel beasts charge and leave blood stains. The Helic Republic holds the line, a shining cause by fate designed. But from the shadows of the dark continent, the Gylos rise, malevolent intent with saber teeth and iron fists. The black machines scream through the mists. Molgas crawl and iguans bite, but Gatos roar and join the fight. From ancient wrecks their war begins, now only steel and fire wins. Monster machines! It's the war for planet Z, where the brave will live live and tyrants die. Zoid to Zoid, sky to land, Republic steel makes it stand. Shielders clash, timber tigers scream, salamanders scorch the dream. Godzilla rises through smoke and flame, and iron cones fall to shame. It's the war for planet Z, where the brave will live and tyrants die. Zoid to Zoid, sky to land, Republic steel makes it stand. Shielders clash, timber tigers scream, salamanders scorch the dream. Godzilla rises through smoke and flame, and iron cones fall to shame. Molga swarm like worms of war, but laser jaws even every score. Red horns stomp with ruthless pride, but Godzilla meets them eye to eye. Through jungles thick and burning skies, the shieldlickers run where valor flies. Against the saber tiger lies, and the claws strike true, Republic never dies. Monster machines, the Nibus bones, they fuel the dark, but freedom burns with a righteous spark. Old empires rise, but never last. Helix stands, the die is cast. Monster machines, it's the war for planet Z. Let the tyrants hear our battle cry. From godlike beast to raptor speed, we fight for honor, not for greed. Sky turns red, steel gods fall, and the Helic heart outlast them all. Raise your fist and scream with pride, the Zoids of freedom will not hide. The war for planet Z, let the tyrants hear our battle cry. Lion chains and Redhorn Rex rust in the rains. Shieldlingers walk the fields they won, and Z turns slowly toward the sun. This is our world, this is our fight. Zoids of Helic burn through the night. For planet Z we rise, we fall, but freedom stands above them all.
Metallic giants rise from lion grounds. Blue guardians down the heart. Lights and fury in the sky.